Hey everyone, Chess Poems here today. Let's talk about blank verse and free verse in poetry, and whether or not these two terms differ. Now, I've been hearing the question, is blank verse free verse? And the answer to this is no. Blank verse is not free verse, and they actually differ greatly from one another. Blank verse is unrhymed iambic pentameter. An iamb is a metric foot comprised of an unstressed syllable followed by a stressed one, notated as such. Pentameter just means that there are 5 metric feet, so in this case, there are 5 iambs per line, so each line consists of 10 syllables. Blank verse emphasizes the arrangement of stressed and unstressed syllables, or metric feet as we've noted, pauses in each line or stanza, or caesura, and the way lines and stanzas break up thoughts. Blank verse is derived from the ancient Greek heroic verse and emerged after a resurgence of interest in classical literature and became the standard for Italian Renaissance drama. It makes its way to England via Henry Howard, Earl of Surrey. Shakespeare, who is a notable user of blank verse, uses it and eventually creates the idea to emphasize stress over syllable, which we see in his later works. Free verse has no metrical plan or rhyme scheme. It focuses on the natural rhythmic patterns of speech, like sounds, words, sentences, paragraphs, etc., and image patterns, or recurring images that help to create structure. Flexibility of form caters to natural speech, like idioms and other things people actually say, and this results in a more casual tonality and what we can view as a closer aesthetic distance, or what some call psychic distance. You actually feel closer to the writing. The name and influence of free verse came from a late 19th century French movement, vers libre, a literal translation being free verse, and it rose to popularity in the 20th century in English poetry, starting with Walt Whitman, Gerard Manley Hopkins, and some other notables that were experimenting with irregular meter. Hopkins' idea of sprung rhythm was a great influence. Sprung rhythm used 1 to 4 syllabic feet, always starting with a stressed syllable. The spondee replaces the iamb as the dominant metric foot, and a spondee, as you'll note from the notation, is actually a stressed syllable followed by another stressed syllable. Now, sprung rhythm is a lot more flexible than blank verse. Hopkins' reasoning for this was sprung rhythm was meant to reflect the dynamic qualities and variations of common speech. Free verse eventually broke into 2 major schools of theory. One led by Amy Lowell, which was less formal, and one led by Ezra Pound, which was more formal. So, blank verse is unrhymed iambic pentameter, whereas free verse is non-metrical and is also unrhymed. Blank verse emphasizes the arrangement of stressed and unstressed syllables, pauses in each line or stanza, and the way lines and stanzas break up thoughts, whereas free verse emphasizes the use and arrangement of rhythmic patterns of natural speech. Thus, blank verse is more reliant on form to create structure, and free verse is less reliant on form and relies more heavily on the cadences and natural rhythms of speech, as well as the use of image patterns to create its structure. That does it for this one. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them below. I am Chess Poems. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.